What's up, everybody? I'm Paul Hickey of Data Driven Design in the Nashville Voice Conference, and I'm here with Julie Davis, and she is the Director of Instructional Technology at Chattanooga Christian School. And we're talking about voice technology in education and in business today. And Julie has a lot going on, so I'm going to let her introduce herself even more. Julie, could you tell us a little bit more about yourself and your job responsibilities and everything that you have going on?
Yeah, so I am the Director of Instructional Technology and Innovation at Chattanooga Christian School here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. My role here at the school is to really just help teachers, students, and parents figure out how to use technology to support learning. And that looks very different in day to day and class to class. We are a school that uses the learning management system Canvas, and so a lot of my time is spent helping teachers get on board with Canvas and creating the content for their courses. But then there's another side of the thing that I do that's just really helping teachers look at what are emerging techs, what are technologies that are out there that we can really use to really just undergird the learning that's in the classroom. I never believe in technology like leading what's happening in the classroom. I think the great thing about education is the relationships between the teachers and the students. But anytime that we can create efficiencies or create ways for the learning to be expanded, then technology allows those type of things to happen. And those are the things that just really get me passionate. And so with that, I started looking into voice technology. I guess it's now been 4 years ago, and slowly have had some teachers here get involved with using voice in the classroom. Most recently worked with a group of we have an international exchange student program, and worked with some international students all from Asia who are really new English learners. And so I work with them to create some voice opportunities to help them with learning not only like new words and vocabulary, but helping them study for tests outside of the course that they were in. So they really struggled with a wellness course that they took because the phrases that were in that course weren't familiar to them. Also biology, those names for the different body parts and things like that, that was really hard for them to memorize. So creating a voice skill that helped them memorize for tests. It's almost like a voice study guide, so to speak. So those are the things that I feel like the voice does really well in education so far, but I think the opportunities are great for it to be even more. And I feel like I'm also a podcaster, and as a podcaster for the Voice in Education, which is helping teachers learn how do I use voice in the classroom safely, taking students' privacy into account, and what's next. And so my goal is to kind of help not only teachers figure that out, but developers and the Google and the Bixby and the Alexa of the world kind of see from the view of an educator, what is it we want? What would help education? So I kind of feel like I've become this evangelist for education and voice, not truly looking for it, just kind of happened.
Yeah, you're working with teachers, you're working with students, you're working with probably administrators, parents, and even developers. So you have all these different stakeholders, and you've accumulated a lot of knowledge. Tell us, what do you mean when you say voice? Because there's a lot of people probably watching this and listening to this that aren't quite sure, and they may even be like similar to your role, or they might be in the classroom, or they might be running a small business, and they have no idea what voice means. So tell us, what do you mean when you say voice? And you mentioned Alexa skills and Google and Bixby. And then also tell us, when did you first start identifying voice? Because I love what you said. You're looking for technology not to lead, but technology to support and make learning and teaching more efficient and effective, similar to how data-driven design is trying to help businesses be more efficient and effective.
Sure.
And voice happens to be that technology for us. So tell us, what do you mean by voice? And then when did you first identify voice as a technology that can support everyone's goals?
So when I say voice, at this point in time, what I'm talking about is the voice assistants. So an Alexa, a Google Assistant, actually Samsung Bixby is creating some voice opportunities that not yet have I figured out how to use those in the classroom because they don't have their own device at this point. But those devices, putting those devices in a classroom, and what it allows for the classroom is to have a connectivity, but not lose that community feel in the classroom. So I can ask, for instance, I can say, what does ubiquitous mean? And I don't have to look down and type it in and look at dictionary.com and then read it back. I can just look over at the device, I can ask the device, and I haven't lost my students in the classroom. So that is one of the efficiencies that it brings to the classroom, I believe, because it is communal in nature. I started doing this, looking at it as a possibility in the classroom actually 4 years ago. I bought my very first one of those very tall original Alexa, I don't even remember what it was called at this point. Took it into a middle school class, asked the teacher, hey, can I just see? I didn't really have a plan. I just wanted to see how the kids interacted with it. And it was there for 10 minutes and I went, nope, not going to do it. Kids are asking things I don't want them to ask. It just became this novelty. But as time has moved on, with any emerging technology, it becomes more and more useful or more and more an ability to see its potential usefulness. And so that's where I think we are. We're beginning to see the potential usefulness in education. When it first came out, it just did seem like a novelty. Yeah, it'd be great if I could answer that question. But for an educator or for anyone in a technology role, you have to look at the pros and cons. And in my mind, I'm a former accountant before I became an educator. So I see this T chart in my head all the time of debits and credits. And, on one side, I'm looking at what are the benefits of this. And on the other side, I'm looking at what are the detriments of this. And I believe wholeheartedly that we're in an era where the benefits are beginning to outweigh the detriments. And because they're so immersed in the world that we're in, to ignore it seems dangerous to me. Because if we continue to ignore it, then it's going to become something, A, we didn't really want it to become as educators, and B, it becomes something that we have to adapt to instead of helping to adapt it.
I love what you said there, because you're talking about, the way that I would phrase this is, you're talking about playing offense instead of playing defense.
100%.
I love what you're saying about that. And so break down for us the difference between, say, what's happening with Alexa, for example, when you ask it for a definition like the word ubiquitous. That would be like, in my mind, a first party type of functionality that Amazon has already built in. And then talk to us about the third party functionality, like app developers like us at Data Driven Design. What can we add to, say, the voice assistants to make something more customized or specialized to a particular learning environment? So maybe break down the difference between the first party capabilities and then the third party capabilities.
Yeah, so your first party capabilities are those things that the company itself, Amazon, has built into that device, or Google, or whoever it is, has built into that device. And it's going to be more just functionality type things. What is the weather? What's the closest restaurant? Where's this? Where's that? How do you spell this? And what that means is I didn't have to put an additional skill or capsule or action onto those devices in order to know that. And all those three words that I mentioned, they're actually just mini programs. And those mini programs are written by people like data-driven design, who create these skills that actually allow you as a business or as a school to dig a little deeper, to create things, and what I like to call is to personalize it for your potential use. So in the classroom, as I mentioned before, with the students, where I actually took study guides and I created those study guides as a skill. That wasn't something that was just out there in the world. It was actually related immediately to a sheet of paper that I got from a teacher, and that was created. So it became something that was beneficial to our school as end users. So the difference to me is creating that opportunity that allows for true personalization. And if you're in a business, to be recognized and inside that voice realm, because right now, if I just happen to say, hey, Alexa, what's data-driven design, I don't know what'll come up. So we've got to be intentional as, I guess, as branding ourselves in making sure that we're using that well, and that the information that comes up is what we want to come up. It's very different from just Googling something. It's a different kind of search.
Yeah, the analogy that I've been using with a lot of business owners is similar to the way that you can personalize your phone with apps. You can personalize your voice assistant with apps, and similar to the way that you can develop an app for the phone, you can develop an app for the voice assistant and then make it publicly accessible to everybody, or you can make it private only to users that you want to use it. And so I want to ask you, how familiar do you believe that businesses currently are with this capability right now? Because you've been doing this for 4 years, and I want to get into that a little more in a second. But how familiar do you believe that just the average business person is with the fact that you can create your own voice app for Alexa or for Google Assistant and actually make it accessible to everybody so that you can capture that audience when they're searching for phrases related to your business?
I would say, as emerging as this technology is, the discoverability for most businesses of even realizing that this is a new paradigm is even less. And so I think businesses have no clue as a whole. Especially, I think we're beginning to see some of the larger businesses speak into this space. You know, you've got people like NPR, you've got businesses like Holland American Airlines and things like that are really starting to see, whoa, this is a space that could really benefit. You've got a healthcare industry that are seeing the beginnings of it. You've got the financial districts that are beginning to see the beginnings of it. But we're really, truly just on the cusp of businesses beginning to understand that. And my opinion is, and I'm a fan, but my opinion is, the sooner you enter that space, the better off you're going to be as a business, because you've put your foot inside that space and you'll be noticed before the others. And so I think it's important. Even I'm a big believer that content is king, but even if it's just something to just create, hey, we're out here, we want you to know we're here. You can develop that content more and more as you kind of see what you can do with it. But just creating something to allow the voice world, if I were to ask Alexa about your business, something would come up. And I think that's important for the future of businesses.
Is there any reason why a small business owner or a marketer that doesn't have a huge budget shouldn't go into this area of trying to create a voice app, Alexa skill, Google action for their business? Is there any reason why they should avoid this?
I can't think of a reason why to avoid it. I will say right now, it's still a little quirky, and I feel like there are times I'm slogging through to figure out how to make this work on different platforms and things like that. That being said, I think daily, weekly, there's more and more helpful places to go to create this. There's support systems out there now. When I created my first skill 4 years ago, when I finished making it, I was like, oh, I did it. Because I didn't even know if I had done it when I had finished it. Now with the ability with Alexa blueprints and things like that, and I think there's beginning to be people out there who are willing to market themselves to help businesses create these, to speak into this paradigm. I just don't think there is a reason not to step into it, because I do believe the future shows us that voice is going to be the way that people search. And so you've got to be in there.
So I want to jump into a couple different things. I am completely excited and honored that you're going to be part of the Nashville Voice Conference for a few different reasons. I think it's super cool that you're a pioneer in the voice space. You were one of the first people, or possibly the first person, to be an attendee at Project Voice, which used to be called the Alexa Conference, which
right.
You told me, I think this was its 4th year. It was the first year that I was there.
Right.
You're an Alexa champion and something else with Bixby. Can you tell us your story related to Project Voice, related to being an Alexa champion? Tell everybody what that means. And then something with Samsung's Bixby that you told me a minute ago that I don't even know about. Can you break all that down for us?
Yeah, so I'm still kind of in a haze about all this. My feeling is I don't really see myself as a developer, but I did develop a podcast called Voice in Education. And due to that podcast, I was selected by Amazon to be Alexa champion. There are 64 Alexa champions in the world, and I am one of them. And I'll be honest, the very first thing I said when they asked me, I was like, are you sure? Because I don't know that I have the skill set that you're really looking for. And let me just say that for both Amazon and Bixby, their answer was yes, because we believe the content that you are putting out is worthy and needed. And so I think that all these businesses, these enterprises are working really hard to not just look at these devices as just developing and how cool is it that it branches here and it branches there, but the content is important to them. And so I see myself as probably and I don't know what the right word would be, but I see myself as being pulled into this industry as for my content, not necessarily for my skill designs. Because if you look at my skill designs, they're not the best, but what I bring to them is the ability for people to see, A, anyone can do this, because I don't have a background in any of this, and B, that content matters. And so I think that's why the Alexa champion, I was chosen for that. And then last week, Bixby contacted me, and they have a Bixby premier developer program. And so their desire was to pull me into that program as well. I don't know what the percentages on that one are yet, so now I have my own little Slack channel where I have my own little person I can ask questions to on both Alexa and Bixby. Feeling super cool in that area, and really looking forward to hoping that I can add value back to them as well in terms of education.
Julie Davis is the Director of Instructional Technology and Innovation at Chattanooga Christian School. So she's in education. She's working with teachers. She's working with students. She's working with parents and developers. She's a former accountant, so she understands business. She's an Alexa champion. And she's been pulled in by Samsung's Bixby to also be their version of a Bixby champion. She's going to present at Nashville Voice Conference 2020. And before I ask you about Nashville Voice Conference 2020, can you tell us, do you have any examples of Alexa skills and Google Actions that you use at work, other than your flash briefing, because you're the host of the Voice Education Flash Briefing? Tell us, other than your flash briefing, what are some examples of Alexa skills and Google Actions that you use at work or that colleagues of yours use at work?
So most of ours are going to be educational related. There are several skills for our elementary students. Bamboo Learning is a developer who has created several really good skills for reading and for math. Math 1, 2, 3 is also a skill that we use in the elementary school. But I would say a lot of the skills that I use on a regular basis are not even necessarily skills. They're, for me, it's connecting my calendar to my assistant. It's setting up routines. It's setting up reminders so that it makes me more efficient because I'm not in the classroom. I am an administrator here. It makes me more efficient in my business role, so to speak, of creating efficiencies for myself, reminders for myself, that type of thing. And for me, and for our teachers as well, creating skills ourselves for our own students have been really important. We use that more than we do any of the other. Music in the background is also one of those things that's very helpful. We've got Matchbox.io is also some skills. They have some educational skills that we use on a regular basis. But for the most part, using voicelets has been a way that we've created those study guides for our students, which is also out there that you can do. And if you're looking for something just to manage a classroom, Ask My Class is another option. So there's a lot of them out there, but I 100% believe the world is wide open for there to be so many more and to meet niches that are currently not being met. And I think that's the value.
So to that point, if you had an idea for a voice app, an Alexa skill, a Google action, a Bixby capsule, let's say Alexa skill, what would you create, or what would you work with a developer to create for your idea?
So I have this big burgeoning heart of, oh my gosh, this would be the next great thing. And part of it, I believe, is for people to take on maybe the Common Core standards, whatever standards, but align skills to standards that are used in the classroom so that a teacher, the hardest part about skills is discoverability. And so to create some, and I like to call it an egg carton, of where a teacher can just say, I want that to be on this device, and it's going, I can trust that these are going to meet the standards that I'm teaching today. I think there would be great value for an educator who doesn't have time to go looking through all these hundreds of skills, thousands of skills, to be able to feel confident that this is worthy and I want my students to do this in the corner today while I'm working over here with this group of kids. I think creating skills that are aligned for reading, aligned for math, aligned for history, science, and having all those for grade level could be very beneficial in the classroom.
I love that. And I wanted to ask you about Alexa for Business, because Alexa for Business is a tool that can be used to essentially do a version of what you're saying, where it would take skills that would need to exist first, but then to essentially have someone in your position, or maybe in an information technology position in the school district or school, depending on if you're private or public school, can essentially use Alexa for Business to deploy or give access to skills, so that device in a classroom can only have access to the approved, to use your terminology, egg carton of skills. So is that kind of what are you using Alexa for Business right now, or is that kind of in
I want to use Alexa for Business, but the device we use in our elementary school is the Kids Edition Echo Dot, because so in education there are three main federal laws we have to take into account, COPPA, SIPA, and FERPA, and they all deal with student privacy. And because students in an elementary setting are under the age of 13, it's really important that whatever device I put in there, that it's deemed COPPA compliant. And the only device that has been deemed COPPA compliant is the Kids Edition Echo Dot, and you can't use the business thing with those. So believe me, I've asked. And I've said, hey, why can't you? And let me show you how it would work and all this stuff. But at this point, educators are trying to use devices that were not developed for education in a way that helps education. But there are a lot of workarounds we have to do in order to use them safely for student privacy. And so with that comes the fact that not all the great things that are available for these devices are things that I feel comfortable using at this point. So, yeah. Yes.
That's great. As an Alexa champion, maybe that's something that we can work with Amazon to see if we can get the Kids Edition approved for Alexa for Business. But in the meantime, it's amazing that you've done what you've done. And I really appreciate you coming and being a part of the things that we have going on with data-driven design, like the Nashville Voice Conference. So tell us why people should come to the Nashville Voice Conference and why you're excited to present on August 7th, 2020.
So one of the things that you also may not know about me, but my husband and I are also small business owners. We own 3 businesses here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I believe that, and we have not actually even started trying to figure out how do we best use voice for these businesses. So I'll be honest, this is a time, it's on my heart too. And so I think to be a part of that, to step your foot into it early is going to benefit people. I'm excited that you're reaching out to businesses and just making it known, because I think that's a lot of it, is just there needs to be a concept of what's out there and what could I do with this and where is this going to go. And I think that's the important thing for all the people attending and potential people attending. Don't look at voice for what it is right now. Look at voice for what it's going to be, in my opinion, even just a year from now. And to ignore that, I think could be problematic for you, because you're not going to be proactive. You're going to have to be reactive. So to choose to be proactive in this, I think is exciting to be a part of that with you, to help businesses see how to be proactive in this.
Thank you so much, Julie. This is awesome. I really appreciate your time. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.
All right. Thank you.